And it's also important to give our bodies antioxidants, such as, nuts, like on sunflower seeds, you find antioxidants. And you find selenium, you find vitamin C, you find many of our Caribbean communities use a lot of herbs, which are great for antioxidants. Rosemary, all of those leaves, that our grandmothers used to make as teas for us, or that, are in legumes and like things that we eat. Those are excellent for the body. Eggs, lentils, turkey. So a lot of the nutrients that are beneficial to our bodies are in our diets.
Mm. Well, I think I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but I'm going to tell you the challenge that I have, Dr. Garcia. So I love mangoes, and my father has the best East Indian mango tree. Okay. And so I grew up in Jamaica when it's mango season, or even anytime that I visited Haiti and it was mango season, and they would pick the mangoes, they would give me a whole bucket, and I would sit there and eat it. Right. And like, obviously, that's not really the best way to do it. So, can you help me to understand, like, how important is portion size?
Well, portion size is really the key, right? So anything that you eat, if you eat way too much of it, it's going to be detrimental for you, and you're really giving your body the wrong signals. Um, and and I try to focus on what foods do I need to include in my diet rather than foods that I need to exclude from my diet.
Oh,
So if
that's
I'm
really good. That's
including,
really good. Okay. So, focus on the foods that I need to include rather than the foods I need to exclude.
right. So if you look at a plate and you break your plate up into four spaces, right? And in the four spaces, you leave space for vegetables, and you leave space for grains, and you leave space for protein, and then you leave space for other foods, or you minimize that space that you leave for other foods, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. Then, rather than eating one mango, rather than eating five mangoes, your stomach is only going to have room to eat one or two, right?
Hmm.
So versus starting with the mango, which will fill your whole plate, right? And then trying to fit additional foods in it. So I always try to focus on must my body have to give me the right nutrients to produce the right signals for my well-being.
Wow, I'm having like a huge aha moment right now. Because, because let me tell you what I found myself doing this mango season, Dr. Garcia. I swear, what I found myself doing this mango season is I would eat clean all day, and then at the end of the day, because all of my friends know I love mangoes, so sometimes I'd come home and there's like a bag of mangoes waiting for me, and then that would be my dinner. I would just eat mangoes for dinner, and so even though I have lost weight, I find that it's I'm still gaining back a little bit of pound because I'm eating mangoes in excess. So what I'm understanding and how I'm going to apply what you just said to my personal situation. I know y'all think this show is for you, but this is a question that I wanted answered. So how I'm going to apply that to my personal situation is I get to eat a salad and a protein, and then after I'm full, then I could be like, all right, let me have a mango, two maximum.
Exactly. And that will allow you actually to, if you have mangoes also earlier in the day, then your body's able to process it. Because another thing, if we go to bed with those nutrients, then your body is going to have to find a place to put them, right? And
Mm.
usually what happens is these sugars get converted to fat because your body doesn't have enough time to process them and to get rid of them or put them where they're supposed to be. So
So
the
actually,
easiest way is for it to go to fat.
it would be better for me to eat the mango with my lunch instead of. Oh, good
Absolutely.
tip. Good
Exactly.
tip. So
Minimize it.
if we focus on what it is that we want to add, minimizing the stuff that we all know is not really great for us, and then be mindful of the amount and the time that we eat it.
Exactly. Well said.
Listen, I have been going to nutritionists and you just gave me the tea in like 2 minutes. It feels doable. Like the advice that you just gave, that feels super doable to me. It feels like it's something that I can do, and it doesn't make me like you're not telling me not to eat mangoes. You're just telling me to watch the portion and the time of day.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So so now back to the regularly scheduled questions. I just had to get that off my chest. So, as we navigate this new normal that we're in now with COVID, right? Where we have COVID really is becoming a part of our lives.
Mhm.
What foods should everyone be incorporating to optimize health?
So the focus really should be anything that causes inflammation to our bodies, and anything that causes our bodies to, hold on to toxins, which toxins are really stored in our fat cells, right? So anything that causes our body to hold on to those things are going to make us more prone to disease. So some of the things that would be beneficial would be focusing on nutrients such as omega-3 fatty acids, which are found in fish, avocados, walnuts, olive oil, like in a salad, B vitamins, um, other things like something called cysteine, which is an amino acid that's found in chickpeas. And all of those things are to both nourish and also to detoxify your body. Curcumin is a great turmeric that's great, like in curries and things like that we eat in the Caribbean community. That's great for also inflammation. Many of those leaves that our grandparents have, used to give us, ensuring that we have regular, movements, that we move our body, and that when we eat, whatever we eat, we're able to get rid of. I
Mm,
find that a lot of our patients tend to hold on, so they don't go to the bathroom on a regular basis, and they think that that's normal for them, and it's actually not normal. Increasing the amount of fiber that we eat to be able to take those toxins and get rid of them, you know, all
got
of that
it.
is very important.
Got it. And how important is water? And how much water should we be drinking?
Extremely important. Extremely important. So 70% of our body really is water, right? So
Hmm.
if we're not able to keep that, water is in every function in our bodies. It's our blood, it's our heart, it's our kidneys, it's our brain. Like anytime any of our lungs, anytime any of those vital organs don't have enough water, they suffer, right?
Got it.
So definitely, I walk around with a water bottle all day. If we can get in at least the 8 glasses of water,
Yeah.
that's great for our bodies.
I keep hearing people talk about intermittent fasting. Is that something that's good for us, or is that something that we should be talking to our doctors about? Help me to understand.
I would say that everybody's body is different. Number one. The second thing I would say is that our bodies get used to anything that we're doing on a regular basis. Intermittent fasting in itself is nothing new, right? So we have been fasting as humans for, years, hundreds and thousands of years, right? Would be it through religion, be it through culturally, and what that does is it makes our body get rid of cells that are not benefiting us. It makes our body gets rid of nutrients and things like that, like toxins in our bodies that are not benefiting us. And so, what I would say is that it's good to kind of trick the body um, into getting rid of those things. So that would be kind of the fasting, right? So it's always good, but I wouldn't say that that's like something that needs to be done by everyone all the time.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And I would think too that that's a case based on what you just said. I would think that that's something that you should talk to your doctor about to see if it's something that's right for you.
Well, it's beneficial to speak to your doctor about it. And it's also beneficial to, if you're going to start something, you start it in moderation,
Good
right?
point. Good point.
So you can always extend the fasting. Like the best way, if you stop eating at 8 o'clock at night, and then your first meal is at 10, that in itself is a fast,
True.
right?
True. And
So
it's a
it
really
doesn't have to be like a dire fasting in order to have the effects.
Oh, good point. Good point. I tell you, for me, food is one of those things that I'm still trying to figure out, right? And I, it's a real complicated, it's a really complicated relationship because I grew up hearing like like you've got to eat this, you don't eat this, and sometimes if you don't eat certain things, then you get punished for it. So it's like this complicated relationship we are taught from toddlers with food, right?
Yeah.
And so I find that for myself and for some women that I talk to, that food then gets tied up into the emotions.
Right.
And we then use food. I sometimes use food to calm me down or to soothe me. So how can I enjoy the emotional benefits that come from food without having it be something that's detrimental to my health?
So yeah, food is very cultural, right? So and we what we are taught in regards to food, when we are taught it could be very different, depending on your where what age you are, right? We're taught as children to eat a certain way, but that doesn't mean that that's how we have to eat through. That is beneficial to eat that way in adulthood, right? So, um, and also our parents were doing different activities and different things that we're doing, right? So, I don't think our parents sat down as much as we did, right? They talk about how sitting is almost like the new smoking because our bodies don't move as much as they used to. So it's
Mm.
so is very complicated. So what I would say is that everything in moderation. Um, Nourish your body with what it needs first, and then go to the treats, right? So
Wow.
if you think of your body as, well, no matter what, I have to eat this salad and then this, and then I can have this piece of whatever, then you won't have as much room in your stomach to have a big piece, you know?
Mm.
So it's all in moderation.
Yeah, I love that. And as you were talking, I'm like, "Ooh, that's a social media post right there." I could see it. And that's such practical, user-friendly advice, Dr. Garcia. So if we practice eating things that we enjoy, but in moderation, after we eat the things that are good for us, I mean, that sounds easy. And then another piece of advice too is if we do want to try fasting, stop eating at 8 o'clock and then have your first meal be at 10 o'clock. Those are just really simple ways to make digestible changes that are easy for anybody to follow without having the stress of, oh, I'm trying to diet. Is it keto? Is it Mediterranean? Is it like what?
Yeah, all of those names. So any diet, you're going to lose weight.
Yeah.
But it's a diet is not sustainable, right?
Hmm.
So you have to think of it more as a lifestyle. So what lifestyle can I live with, and what lifestyle would be beneficial for my body, depending on my condition, right? So people are different. So that's important to not think of things as, this is, I'm doing this diet for this period of time. And it's a lifetime of learning. It's a lifetime of, your body is always going to want to go to where it's used to, where it's more comfortable, you know? And so it's always a work in progress. It's like if somebody has hypertension, just because they take their medicine and their blood pressure is controlled with that medicine, that doesn't mean that they don't have high blood pressure anymore. Right? Your body's always want to go
Ooh.
back to where it is. But yet we always tend to blame kind of, well, overweight is the person's fault. Well, it's it is more complicated than that. It's not just about calories.
You just said something that was like really important. You're just because you're taking the medicine, it's controlling your hypertension, your diabetes, doesn't mean that you don't have it anymore. So you still have to eat in a way to use food to heal your body.
Absolutely. Food is medicine.
Yeah, that's really, really powerful, Dr. Garcia. I feel like I know you now. I'm like, I'm thinking I'm gonna call you Dr. G, right?
Yeah, Dr. Gracia or Dr. G or
See,
whatever.
I have been saying your name wrong the whole time. Dr. Garcia. Thank you. I've been saying Garcia. I'm like a little dyslexic there. Dr. Garcia. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
So, the other thing too is like in the old way. I'm from Jamaica, right? So I grew up with my grandmother cooking like yam and banana and like earth ground provisions. Are those things that are really good for us?
So again, everybody's body is very different. Um, One of the things that we've done at Borinquen is we use something called a continuous glucose monitor. And what that is, it's a device that you put on the back of your arm or, somewhere in your body, and you scan it with your phone or with a sensor. And it basically tells you how different foods affect your blood sugar. Because what happens is that when the blood sugar goes up, insulin, which is the insulin is what kind of is the key to put the blood sugar where it's supposed to be, goes up. And that's the thing that causes our chronic diseases, our inflammation, and such a things. So this device essentially gives you an idea of how foods affects your body. For example, you would think many people say, well, brown rice is so much better than white rice or whatever. For my personal body, that's not true. For my
Wow.
body, white rice is better than brown rice. For my body, a piece of plantain is worse than something else. But if you don't have that knowledge, then it's going to be difficult to understand. So another way to figure it out, rather than using that particular device, you can see how does your body feel after you eat it. So, people always assume, well, I just ate, so my body's going to be tired. Food is not supposed to make you tired necessarily, it's supposed to nourish you, right? So if you're feeling tired after you're eating, then maybe you should look at what is it that you're eating and try to make a change.
That's a good point. So this continuous glucose monitor, I've seen the commercials on TV. Is that something that you have to wear for a long time? Or do you have your patients wear it for like a short window? Like how does that work?
Well, it depends. So really, it's a device that was made for diabetic patients. But I find that I don't really want to wait until the patient has diabetes for them to really learn about how their body affects how food affects their body. So what I've done, we do is we put it on for a period of 2 weeks, and then the patient is able to scan it either with their phone or with a sensor, and they'll let them know what is it that they're able, it'll give them information about what their body's doing with the food that they're eating.
Wow, that's such a good idea. I'm going to ask my doctor to do that with me
Mhm.
because I'm diabetic and I'm trying to figure out what foods to eat, what foods not to eat, what time to eat. So
Yeah,
the next time I go see my doctor, I'm going to ask her to give me that device.
yeah,
It sounds good because you're right. For me, brown rice may work, but for you, it doesn't.
yeah,
And so one shoes doesn't always fit for everybody, right?
yeah. Yeah, we really need to get to the level of that we're doing more personalized medicine.
Mhm.
And we really, as humans, we need to get more in tune with our body so we can figure out what's really nourishing us and what is not, you know?
Oh, yeah, good point. So, what happens if somebody is going through a COVID diagnosis? Is how important is food for them?
Very important. Remember, food is a signal to our body, right?
Hmm.
So, unfortunately, during the COVID pandemic, that's when we realized how detrimental were chronic diseases to our population. And so, anytime your body has a high inflammation, anytime you have a lot of toxins in your body, and toxins are stored in fat cells, that's where toxins like to live. And so anytime you have those things in your body in high levels, you are going to be at risk for your immune system not to function as well. So, again, it's the same. And it's not necessarily, well, I need to take care of just my diabetes. I need to take care of just my hypertension. It's overall take care of your whole body,
Yeah.
because different disease states present differently in different people.
Good
So
point.
it's always good to have those basic nutrients, omega 3s, B vitamins, antioxidants, and nourishing foods such as spinach, broccoli, other vegetables, seafood, fatty fish, avocados.
I love that. I love that. It's really good advice, Dr. Gracia. Why'd you let me say Garcia like 5 times before you corrected me? Being so polite. I really appreciate you. This has been a really amazing conversation. Do you have any final words of wisdom that you want to offer to the audience today?
I would just say food really is medicine. It's much better to have your medicine at the end of a fork than at the end of a needle. So watch what you put into your body and
Oh,
learn.
yo, we need to turn that into a meme. Food is medicine. It's much better to have your medicine at the end of a fork than the end of a needle. All right. Watch and see if we're not gonna create that meme. It's gonna like come out on a Live Healthy Miami Gardens social media page anytime now. Well, thank you so much for this fun conversation. You have personally given me some things to talk to my doctor about. I really appreciate you taking time out of what I know is a very busy schedule.
Great. I'm happy to hear that. And anytime. It was my pleasure.
Be well, everyone. Remember, we are here every Tuesday at 3 o'clock on Live Healthy Miami Gardens Live, sharing with you tips on how to live your healthiest, most prosperous life in the city of Miami Gardens. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a webinar, I believe, coming up this Thursday. In the meantime, do go to livehealthymiamigardens.com to find out more about local resources that are available in the city of Miami Gardens. Be well, everyone. Remember, be kind and loving to yourself. You deserve it.